Albie, I have several things to bring up with you.
All right, let's go.
Okay, one, the food was delicious. Delicious. I do love that you're an extremist. So I made myself essentially a small soup, and then I had imitation hash brown potatoes that Alice makes with radishes. And they're surprised. Although one tasted like soap, the rest were delicious.
Sorry about that.
It's not your fault. And also, these are some of the excessive things that you do that I've always loved. One, there was excess salt. Two, there was excess garlic. Three, there was excess oil. All of which I love. So that was delicious. That said, let me tell you why you're in trouble.
Great, why am I in trouble?
Glad you asked that. Because there was no Nature's Promise anything at Shaw's.
There's supposed to be.
Okay. There's supposed to be a lot of stuff in a lot of places. You notice that?
Mm-hmm.
And it hasn't happened. And now I have a... First of all, I listened to the Kirk Minahan show today. Montante is way off. Montante not only is on Jerry's show, but on Kirk Minahan's show too. Way off. Saying no chance that Herschel Walker is going to win, no chance that Mehmet Oz is going to win. They're both going to win walking away.
He obviously hasn't gotten his political information from the Burn Barrel podcast. So.
They're both winning walking away. And J.D. Vance is going to win their walking away. It's over. What's happened was, and I think this is almost bad for Democrats, when the GOP momentum 2 months ago receded.
Right. They coasted.
Right.
They were like, great, we'll just talk about abortion in January 6th the rest of the time until November.
Right. I also think that...
And then they had 2 more months of inflation and gas prices started going back up.
And gaslighting at the same time. Right. And it's 2 more months of inflation. Kids are in school. Parents have had to do stuff like buy school supplies, and other real world stuff is happening. You know, and there are people who are busy, who are like we're busy. There's not a lot of hours in the day to get stuff done, to do things. And, you know, having stress sucks. Having, like, today, the bottom floor of our house was fairly okay. This room is fairly okay. Our bedroom is fairly okay. The little kid's room is a freaking disaster. The office is fairly okay. So today, for our house is in better shape than usual, which is good because the kids had a friend pop over. Well, this is Sally is
getting into friends popping by unannounced.
Yeah, so now we have people doing the pop by, and then we can't have them see that it needs to be condemned. So we're having to make sure more stuff is done. But yeah, there's all this stuff going on, and it makes life a pain in the ass. You know, when you've got when you're a parent and you got 1 kid or 2 kids or whatever, you know, there's a lot that's unfulfilling in your life. But that's the trade-off you make. You know, you have kids. You know, so we have kids who are fun and great. And they're down there right now. 3 boys are playing with each other right now downstairs. And it's wonderful, and they're in a good mood, which is, you know, usually it's a 1 B minimum, I call it. 1 bitch minimum means that usually 1 kid has a freaking problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like on the other side, the kids have destroyed the walls and destroyed the furniture and destroyed anything I ever cared about, you know, like the heirlooms or anything like that. So my large point is that this inflation is another kick in the groin for people who, like, you used to have, depending on the size of the family, you could, being frugal, spend $100 a week and get through. It's not like that anymore.
No.
Yeah, the stuff is like, it's funny because we're eating pasta that you bought when you hoarded it, you know, for 2 years ago at the beginning of the pandemic. It's like that stuff, that pasta, we could fence that for a lot of money now.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of that
Definitely
stuff.
for cheaper than I bought it for.
Oh, yeah. All of the stuff. So I think this is what has made the polls. And also I think the polls they're not showing. I think the polls I'm going to say in Connecticut, possibly in Massachusetts, but in many other states.
Well, there are no polls in Massachusetts to be wrong, so
I would
don't
say
know.
that the polls, you can add 10 to every.
Did you see, by the way, that the polls out of the New York governor's race today?
Mm-mm.
Quinnipiac says that Lee Zeldin is 4 points behind Kathy Hochul.
Yeah, he's going to win.
I mean, that's wild. That's wild.
Well,
If there's about to be a Republican governor in New York, and
well,
I think
they
that's
had
like
Pataki
potentially.
in the early part of the century.
I mean, but the way New York is now,
Yeah.
I mean, like how many points did Trump lose New York State by? I don't even know off the top of my head, but like a lot.
It would be interesting to see. Yeah, no. It's 10 points everywhere. Add 10 points. Take Tom Shattuck's word for it. This is the decision desk.
Well, yeah, and
Add
they're
10
saying
points.
now that even they are adjusting on Pennsylvania. They're saying now that they're within the margin of error. They have it at like 48, 46 Fetterman instead of before.
Fetterman is finito.
I would say so. Did you see, by the way, the desperate attempt? His wife now came out as bisexual.
Ah! No!
And she wants NBC to apologize for all the offense they caused to this disabled community for pointing out that her husband can't understand human language anymore.
I did see that.
And now she's come out as bisexual too on top of that. So just to, she's trying to rack up the victim points somewhere. But does that not reek of desperation?
That's fantastic. It's so desperate.
Her name's Giselle Fetterman, if you're looking for her. Giselle with one L.
Yes, I think she's attractive.
I don't know.
She's also an illegal alien, but maybe or maybe not.
I think she's maybe indigenous too or something. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, I think the like coming out of the closet with a boutique sexuality when you're losing or when your husband that you're actually acting for right now is when you're losing this race is an attempt to change the conversation away from the fact that your husband tragically was brain damaged by a stroke.
Well, right. But also, even before that was no prize. He was always a guy who wears, I wear cargo shorts. So does he. He wears sweatshirts. He's got an undeveloped Siamese twin in the back of his head. No, he's got all sorts of stuff. I'm a funny looking guy. I understand. I can be mildly cleaned up sometimes, but Fetterman is crazy. Dresses crazy, acts crazy, and now has stroked out.
Right.
So, what else do you want? He's a bizarre psycho in Mehmet Oz, who, I guarantee you wears cologne that the room smells. I never need to have a relationship with any of the people in Oprah's circle. In Mehmet Oz, the doctor,
you liked what's her name? The Democratic candidate lady, the crazy one.
Oh, she was sexy. Diane Wilkeshore.
Yes, I can't think of it right now, but
there was something smoky, sexy about her. She was hearing her own signal somewhere. Yeah, what was her name? We need to Democrats running in 2020.
I don't know, but yeah, you liked her. So, but yeah, Mehmet Oz is not a great candidate either. He's an elitist who barely lives in the state. The whole thing is pathetic. I'm so glad right now that I don't live in Pennsylvania, and Marianne something maybe I can't think of it. Anyway,
hold on. I did that Klobuchar too, though.
I know, but that's just because she's
Marianne Williamson.
mean. That's just because she's mean, not because of her looks per se.
Correct.
But yeah, the whole thing is such a disappointing race all around, and Fetterman. But I don't believe that the people of Pennsylvania are that insane that in what should be a wave year for Republicans, they're going to elect a brain damaged person to be in the Senate.
10 points. Add 10 to every Republican running.
I mean, at this point, I almost believe it because it is so crazy that I can't believe how bad the Democrats are at this, right?
Well, and also, common sense tells you, look around, see what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Look around. Nothing is great right now. Nothing is great right now.
Of course.
Inflation is through the roof. Gas prices are high. Heating oil is going to be very, very high, and people know it. We're spending billions and billions in Ukraine. We're making the people who didn't go to college to now give to people who did go to college. I mean, what do you want to do here? There's underemployment. Businesses, the people's legacies have gone now, died, because locally Democrat policies torpedoed them, and they were echoed nationally by a party that was happy to sell out and harm the children of the country to pay off the unions.
Right,
It's
exactly.
uneffing believable, and people know this. There's a reason. There's a reason why Merrick Garland, nationally, and local Democratic attorneys general are saying they're worried about the parents intimidating Board of Ed meetings.
Mhm.
There's a reason why they're equating those people with January 6 rioters.
Not to mention the pro-life people. They've been
yes.
arresting pro-life people who protested outside abortion clinics like crazy, which, I mean, I get it. If people... I don't like mob stuff, right? So if they were like forcing their way into somewhere where they shouldn't be, or they didn't leave, if they were trespassing or whatever, if they got into an altercation with somebody, but like all those things ought to be handled by the local police. There really shouldn't be federal charges for any of that. Why are abortion clinics specially protected? Why are we going after people from years ago for like similar stuff? I mean, what?
Abortion clinics have been targeted. I mean,
no, right now it's the pregnancy crisis centers that are being targeted.
I understand, but like you weren't. Were you there for John Salvi in the 90s?
Well, no, but I mean, I know there's a history
of that. So this guy,
just
so you know, this guy went in the Green Line and stopped at 3 different abortion clinics and shot up each one, killing.
Okay, but was that not illegal before there were special federal laws protecting abortion clinics from people standing outside them?
It was illegal, but I think that...
So my point is that we have plenty of charges that we can use against people who go shoot people, right? Like, there doesn't need to be special protections for abortion clinics over, like, schools, police stations, hospitals, office buildings, everywhere else. Like, why are abortion clinics a special magical place where, like, you can get in extra special trouble even after the local police have dropped all the charges against you because you didn't do anything that bad, right? Like, why are they in a special category all their own? And why aren't the feds doing anything about the pregnancy crisis centers, which are being targeted by, in some cases, like fire bombings, where they're...
Well, that's by the guerrilla, terrorists. They're also being targeted by people like Senator Elizabeth Warren,
right,
who want them shut down, so the people have one choice. And by the way, and people also know, they saw that Biden said that he was going to change U.S. energy policy. They saw that they shut down the Keystone Pipeline and all the drilling and this and that, etc. They saw gas prices rise as a part. They saw the lame excuse that it's Putin's war, even though gas prices were already rising. They saw all this stuff, and they saw him, jerk up the strategic oil reserve, which, by the way, breaking news, he's just done 13 minutes ago again. Biden to release 15 million barrels from oil reserve. More possible. So now, this is the Associated Press. Josh Boeck and Zeke Miller. This is the Associated Press.
Okay.
They don't want to be critical of Joe Biden. But listen to this, the way it's written. President Joe Biden will announce the release of 15 million barrels of oil from the U.S. Strategic Reserve Wednesday as part of a response to recent production cuts announced by OPEC and nations. And he will say more oil sales are possible this winter as his administration rushes to be seen as pulling out all the stops ahead of next month's midterm election.
Of course it's pulling out all the stops in front of next month's midterm election.
Yes, but Alice, that is pretty damning that the AP News copy
says he's doing it for the election.
Assigns motive to him.
Right, of course it is.
Because they know this is horse bleep. They are rip bleep.
Of course. I mean, and then you have Bill Melugin today. They're transparently political. He's tweeting, the New York Post is reporting that the Biden administration pressured the Democrat El Paso mayor not to declare a state of emergency over the migrant crisis. The White House pressured the Democratic mayor of El Paso, Texas, to not declare a state of emergency over the city's migrant crisis due to fear it would make the president look bad, the Post has learned. At least 3 of the El Paso City Council's 8 members have urged Mayor Oscar Leeser to issue an emergency declaration in response to the thousands of migrants who filled the city's shelters and are being housed in local hotels, sources familiar with the matter said. But Leeser admitted during a private phone conversation last month that he'd been directed otherwise by the Biden administration, one of the officials told the Post. He told me the White House asked him not to, Councilmember Claudia Rodriguez said. Rodriguez also said Leeser has repeatedly assured her that he'd declare a state of emergency if things got worse, without saying what that meant. U.S. Rep. Tony Gonzalez, our Texas, whose district covers rural areas and border towns near El Paso, said he heard similar accounts from other city officials. It's sleight of hand what the administration is doing, pressuring the local government to not issue a declaration of emergency, to say as if everything is going okay.
I mean, when that communication comes from President Trump, they're impeaching.
Of course.
Now, back to the oil. Here's another thing. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. Biden still faces political headwinds because of gas prices. AAA reports that gas is averaging $3.87 a gallon, up from a month ago when falling prices at the pump suggested that the president and his Democrats were faring better. An analysis Monday by Clearview Energy Partners, an independent energy research firm based in Washington, suggested the two states that could decide control of the evenly split Senate, Nevada and Pennsylvania, are sensitive to energy prices. The analyst noted that gas prices over the past month rose above the national average in 18 states, which are home to 29 potentially at-risk House seats.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. So, I mean, but they're doing all they can to not lose at the midterms. Not doing all they can to make life better for people.
No, that's...
Just like we talked about the other day with the inflation. We need a real rate hike to cut off this inflation or it's not going anywhere. They're only increasing the pain down the road by handling it this way. But because right now what they're doing is just punting. I mean, I know they've raised rates a little bit, but it is not enough to do what's coming. Now, Bloomberg is saying it's virtually certain there's going to be a recession, which anybody could have seen like 6 months ago that there was going to be a recession, but whatever. I mean, housing prices are going to be struggling with the interest rates so high. I don't... this administration, like, is there anything they haven't screwed up? There's, like, the border, there's Ukraine, there's gas prices, there's energy. I mean, and then the same thing, like... Everything, it's like a fractal of badness, the Democratic Party, because as you go down the levels into state and local government, they also do bad and terrible and stupid things there that screw up your life. Look at the Massachusetts governor's race. Now, because Maura Healey blocked 2 natural gas pipelines into this state, into the rest of New England too, by the way, those of you in other states, but because they have to go through Massachusetts, she got to block them as Attorney General, and she bragged about that in the debate. She said she was proud of it. And she's also said in phone conversations with like Jim and Marjorie that she wants like no new natural gas hookups in statewide. So the idea that she's now bragging about that while we are facing unprecedented energy costs, we are so dependent on LNG tankers to get our fuel now, and we can't do anything about it because of the Jones Act. And like everybody knows that in other states like Pennsylvania, they're producing all this natural gas and it's cheaper everywhere else in the country except New England, and because they are less dependent on foreign natural gas. You know, so this is the problem with the way we run our energy policy, and like people are going to feel the pain of it this winter. Their policies are just bad all the way down to your school board from the presidency. And like I don't get how anybody can look at what's going on in this country and vote for Biden. Like I see these delusional people who are like, thank Putin for the energy prices, or like, yeah, well, Trump broke everything and now Biden's working to fix it, but it's going to take a while. Like, you have to be so out of your mind to really believe stuff like that, like so in denial. I just don't understand how you can vote for policies like this, because that's ultimately what's on the ballot. That's what we saw with Trump. Trump might not be like a great person in his marriages or personal life or whatever, but like policy-wise, he did the stuff. You know what I mean? He got it all done.
If you just look at this, it's simply, let's say that he didn't have any depth of knowledge when it comes to policy or economics or whatever. He knows that putting stuff on trucks can be expensive, especially when gas prices are heavy.
Yeah.
He knows that when you can't get supplies, it freezes up. You know, if he can't get, 812 mini fridges, then the hotel doesn't open. If you open the hotel without the mini fridges, it's not a 5-diamond hotel. He knows that he needs to stuff the food. He knows he can't have his a Cinco de Mayo taco bowl at Trump Tower if meat prices are through the roof, and they had the margins are almost nothing because they'll have to kill it from the menu. He knows basic stuff. He knows that these things are a kick in the ass for the business community. And if that's it, that's why he was saying, we'll open after Easter, I hope. And Fauci was saying, I don't think so. I mean, the business knowledge is what he had. He was rah, go.
Yeah, just having to do stuff in any business completely changes your perspective. I think that's why so many small business owners, absolutely did support Trump, because it's just the type of knowledge that, that you get from doing things, and that you appreciate that people know what they're doing, and you trust people in the industry to be able to tell you what's going on, versus Biden, who just blames the gas stations for raising the price. It's so ignorant of the way anything works in the world.
And I had a caller call and say, obviously I've been railing against giving away college money to the most fortunate Americans, which is also another thing. You only have to have a medium understanding. First of all, anybody who is blue collar, working class in this country sees that and says, bull, no, that it's not acceptable. But that said, I had somebody call in and say, hey, Tom, you got government relief money during the COVID thing, however much we got for each kid or whatever like that.
Yeah.
He said, so why are you complaining about the college people? And that is true, I did. But I also got a huge pay cut because of the government shut down businesses.
Who then couldn't advertise in a paper.
Exactly. It's like, Biden has found the most toxic way to govern, and he's decided to say the economy is burning hot as hell. I mean, either he's not aware, or he's using a stubborn senator's conditioning, because he's a blowhard. He'll just make stuff up. He always has. It's not just him. Blowhard senators will do that. Look, it's the lowest inflation you get in 6 years if you add in for this, and this. Record numbers, they tout these jobs numbers, which is, it's a disingenuous thing to do. And, it's like the fact that we're in pain is one thing. Don't tell us we're not. And don't tell us we're crazy.
Yeah.
And don't tell us that what we should be worried about is that if Republicans get in office, they're going to send the abortion police to arrest people.
Yeah, that's what Eric Swalwell is tweeting, is Fantasyland videos about some family that's just eating dinner and the abortion police show up to arrest the mom of the family.
It's kind of awesome in a way.
Are you going to play it? Or
I'll grab it.
So, but it's just so nuts to me that instead of the real pain and suffering that people are going through, all the crime that people go through and all this stuff that's happening, out here in the real world where the rest of us live, they're locked in this imaginary battle with the imaginary threat of the Republicans.
The Swalwell tweet is, MAGA Republicans want women arrested for having an abortion. This is what that looks like.
Nobody wants that.
Happy family, daddy feeding the baby.
You're weird.
He is weird.
Daughter and mother making fun of daddy. Suddenly there's police lights in the driveway. Pretty abrasive knock for the cops, I gotta say.
Mary Anderson,
Yes.
I have a warrant for your arrest.
Arrest for what?
Penal Code 243 violation. Unlawful termination of a pregnancy.
You gotta be kidding me.
That is my personal business.
That's for the courts to decide, ma'am. Your medical records have been subpoenaed, and Dr. Landry's already in custody.
No,
Poor Dr. Landers.
you can't just.
You will have to submit to a physical examination.
What? By who?
No one's touching
Sir,
her.
Ted Cruz.
Ma'am, turn around! Put your hands behind your back, now!
Why is this happening?
How great is this? How great. Both of them cock their guns and are about to blow them away, because they're trigger happy cops, of course. But by the way, why did this family live and not get shot? I think we know why. Why?
Because they're white.
Correct.
Yeah, it's crazy because you're far more likely to have your catalytic converter stolen out of your driveway or a carjacker threaten you with a gun or whatever else it is than this bizarre world the Democrats are living in, where literally no one suggests arresting moms who get abortions. They're suggesting outlawing the practice of abortion by physicians. Most pro-life people, if you actually talk to human pro-life people, which I know none of them have ever done because they might discover they believe all kinds of things that they didn't realize, but most pro-life people actually consider abortion to also be a violence done on women as well as done on the child. So, they they would consider it a feminist position not to have abortion. They consider it a lack of women's choices in life and a lack of opportunity for women, that they're not able to keep their babies in our society the way that we have it set up now. So, but they've never talked to a pro-life person, so they wouldn't know that. I mean, like, I would challenge them to look for any state where anyone has suggested a law that would criminalize women for getting the abortions. Like, no one puts that forward, so that's like not a thing. But that's nice. Swalwell's fighting this imaginary threat to women and not doing anything about, like, the real threats to women. Like, you're always talking about in Connecticut how, like, the rapes and the murders are all up. Like, great. So, you know, that he's not going to do anything about. But this imaginary Republican administration, where in California, where he lives, I don't know what they imagine. But
well, I mean, that's the point, right? I mean, if that's all you've got left, that's what's left in the deck, then I can imagine
they have that, and
like, what they're seeing for their polling is a colossal disaster.
Well, yeah, because
what I'm surprised is this, though. I'm surprised that Pelosi hasn't told candidates to go out and declare war on Biden. Just to declare war on Biden. Just declare war.
Well, none of them are asking for him or Kamala on the campaign.
I know
trail,
that, but why not
obviously.
at this point? They're going to be unemployed in 6 months. At this point, declare war. Just
Well, look how that worked out for Manchin, though. I mean, like, I think that's the cautionary tale, right?
What do you mean?
I mean, they screwed him over with his deal that he made.
Where does that have to do with declaring war on Biden?
I mean, because he was like the anti-Biden agenda guy. Right? So isn't the message, if you declare war on Biden and the administration, that you're going to be out there on your own?
No. This administration has no power. They can't do anything. No, that was Schumer shooting him. I mean, that was ridiculous. No,
But
the
they
point
did
is
it
this,
to get the Biden agenda
the point
done.
is that we're abandoning ship now. So these Democrats are going to be wiped out. You would think that Pelosi would give the green light and say, go ahead, start slamming him. I know that Bush, I think, gave the green light for some Republicans to start slamming him in 06 or whatever, one of these times when they got blown out anyway. It's like the last refuge of the party to just run against him. I mean, it doesn't matter. He's a lame duck anyway, Biden. What would have to happen for him to get elected again?
Well, he's not going to get elected again, but I think it's possible he could run again. If he can
do?
go out there, if he's delusional enough and listening to yes men around him enough to go out there and lick his ice cream and say the economy is strong as hell, like, I believe he absolutely would run again. Totally.
Well, I think he would.
I mean, like, and is the Democratic Party, like, going to do anything about it? Like, are they going to stop him from running realistically?
Oh, and you should have heard. I'll play a little bit of it today.
Okay.
I think this is the one, or is this not? Is this the one? Okay. So just listen to the word once we get to it. That all anybody needs to hear about how things
show for it. Thank you, Karine. Following up on something you said earlier, if President Biden's top domestic priority is inflation, why doesn't he have more to show for it?
So the president understands, and we've talked about this many times, that inflation is an issue, high cost. Cost is an issue for the American people. And so he's been very clear about making that his number one economic priority. And he has done the work. And he's done the work with congressional Democrats. When you think about the Inflation Reduction Act, which is going to lower the cost.
So she's now done the work of addressing the hard edge of his question.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's going to get to his boilerplate overall, the Biden economic doctrine stuff. And this is where, listen for the word.
For our seniors, millions and millions of seniors across the country, when you think about that $2,000 cap on their own Medicare prescription, when you think about the thousands of dollars that our seniors pay a month, now that's going to be $2,000 a year. That is the work that congressional Democrats and congressional Democrats and the president has done. Republicans did not vote for that at all. And what Republicans want to do is that they want to repeal that very historic piece of legislation that is also going to lower energy costs, that is also going to help fight climate change. They want to get rid of it. So there is a contrast that we are going to make, which is how Republicans are actually going to make things worse, and Democrats want to do the opposite and make things a little easier. I just talked about the hearing aids, which is going to help 30 million Americans across the country.
But who exactly thinks the president
First of
is
all,
doing?
You know what, I
That's
might
true.
have the wrong cut. Hold, let me try this one before I go.
So you said he's been working on the economy every day for 19 months. Now Bloomberg economists are forecasting a 100% chance of a recession.
That's a
so
big
how is it
percent.
that we
I
can
think
be
so, yeah.
barreling towards a recession, and the economy is, as the president says, strong as hell?
So here's the thing about the economy, and I've
Okay,
said
here we
this
go.
many times. You've heard this from Secretary Yellen. You've heard this from Brian Deese, who runs our Economic Council, is that what we are seeing right now is the job market is strong. The labor force is strong. And that is not what we see usually before a recession. And so and a lot of that is because of the work that this president has done. We are seeing an economy that is resilient. We are seeing an economy that is going into a transition with more stable growth, more steady growth. And that is because of the work that this president has done. That is because of the economic policy that he has put forward. And let me remind you, the economic policy that he's put forward is about building the economy from the bottom to the top and the middle out. And that is so important because it means that we leave no one behind. It means that there's equity at everything that he puts forward.
And that's all you have left.
Right.
Is the
We're all going to be
you have
equitably
left?
poor at the
Yes,
end.
all you have left are the religious tenets.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Equity.
So the equity that she just mentioned, that's the spirit that's left. The infrastructure around the spirit, his plans, policies, and ideas have all crumbled. Those are all utter failures. So now it's just the vernacular of the true believers is all they have left.
Right.
Which is, of course, one of the reasons why this administration won't turn on a dime. He's too calcified and stupid too, but the others are true believers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just look at it. If you look only through equity, they are kind of destroying everybody's lives.
Yeah, that's very equitable. That's true. That's true. Although when you make the economy worse, do you know who it hurts worse than other people?
I do know.
Poorer people, people of color. It hurts the people who are already marginalized more than it hurts like Joe Biden
Your problem
and his
is, Alice,
buddies who
your
are
problem
wealthy.
is that you're going past the word equity and looking at the landscape.
Right.
Don't do that. That's the problem. Because
Mhm.
that way, like, Black Lives Matter is great, and it's written all over the place, and there's this Black Lives Matter street in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And that's as far as we look now, because that means we did something there, and we changed the name from the bad person street, which might have been a white person. We got rid of statues that says Black Lives Matter. We did things in the vein of equity, so it doesn't matter.
That's
Now,
fine.
more blacks are being murdered all over the place and have a worse life ever. We've made, in the name of Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter is a code for Black Lives Made Worse, murdered, killed, raped, and livelihoods destroyed.
Right. The
In the
black
name of
small
Black Lives
business
Matter-
owners are screwed.
In the name of Black Lives Matter, activists and Democratic leaders and got together and committed about 300 more Black Wall Streets.
Right.
That's what they did. They went in and burned and destroyed the businesses, the accomplishments of blacks. So instead of now going back to 1865 or 1940 or 1960 right now, it's now you're starting from scratch again, black people. And remember how it was very important that we talk about inherited wealth, and which is a thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Ebenezer Shattuck had a house, so did he hand it to Zapparella Shattuck, who handed it to old Anson Shattuck, who handed it to Cletus Shattuck, who handed it to Lewis Shattuck, who handed it to Thomas Shattuck. That is a thing, you
Right.
know.
Totally.
And
But
and
that being
Democrats
said-
went into those cities and destroyed livelihoods.
Right. And that being said, I mean, home ownership, for example, which is like one of the biggest ways that people build wealth and join the middle class in this country, is further out of reach for everybody of all colors than ever right now because of the interest rates and the housing market and the Biden economy in general. So, I mean, if we're going to talk about building generational wealth instead of just tearing down people who already might have been on the cusp of having it, you know, then we would try and have an economy where people could, like, buy houses. But
all right, you want to do chat, or you wanted to throw something in there?
I had a couple other things because
throw
I wanted to.
Throw a couple of things in there. You look lovely in that color.
Thanks, honey. I like wearing red.
Don't say honey. You don't really say that off the air, do you?
I don't know. I do call you honey.
You do? Really?
Think so.
It just seems so like we're pretending
I think
we're
so.
in love
Don't
or
you
something.
remember? Don't you remember that Sally named your otter statue Honey?
Yes, of course.
So she would only know that word if we were saying honey.
You think?
Yes. That's where she got it. It's because I call you Honey. So she named the otter statue Honey. I know. You don't.
For the first time, I was repulsed by you today, physically. I couldn't. Never thought it was possible. I never thought it was possible.
I know.
Should I tell people what it was?
Sure. I ate garlic.
No, I saw your neck tattoo that I hadn't seen before.
No,
Well, yes, it was the logo for Stormfront magazine, which I never knew.
That's not true. Don't slander me, jeez.
So
I ate too much garlic. And
yeah,
Tom
I mean, and
like
you
it.
make.
I like garlic.
Now I know that I always have breath that is like plutonium, so I know that I cannot judge breath. But you were unkissable at one point today. I had no idea. I figured when you said I just smell like garlic because you had a big chunk of salmon with garlic, and I saw the thing prepared. And one of the things I love about you is that you overdo it with garlic, but I had no idea. That was.
I had garlic and crushed red pepper and like this.
Either I'm a
vinaigrette
vampire
on the
or that
dressing.
was horrific.
It was so good. I think you're a vampire. I think you are a vampire. But I was gonna say, speaking of black people and the way that the left what do you think I'm about to say?
Anything's possible.
And the way that the left panders to black people,
especially black IT people,
in utterly useless, ridiculous ways that do nothing to help any black people anywhere. You'll be pleased to know that the new Black Panther movie is getting rave reviews.
Oh, is it really?
Rave reviews. This is Black Panther Wakanda Forever that is coming out.
Oh, good.
The new
I was gonna
installment.
Yeah.
I know you were very anxious to see
I waited overnight.
But this is CNN reporting. This is analysis by Chris Saliza, CNN editor-at-large.
I'm familiar with him.
Why Wakanda might be a model for our future cities. Wakanda is a marvel. The fictional country of the Marvel
Chris
universe.
Saliza is the news chief for
yes.
CNN. Okay.
Wakanda is a marvel. The fictional country of the Marvel universe is the most advanced civilization in the world, years beyond the rest of the world in technological learning. But it's a little noticed part of Wakanda that may predict what our real-life cities of the future should look like, according to author blah, 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 who talked about it in his podcast. One of the things I love about Wakanda, if you notice, if you watch Black Panther carefully, there's the city. The city's got all this mass transit and all this housing and parks and all this stuff. Blah, blah, blah.
That was my takeaway, too.
Urban America. And the moment you leave the city, you're in farmland, and there's this connection between rural life and urban life. So we've now formalized, I mean, I know everybody's children now, and so they all watch comic book movies and are like, wow, everything is just like Harry Potter and like Voldemort. And, they're like, oh, this is just like in Avengers when blah, 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 and Ultron and whatever stupid things. Right, because there's only like 6 cultural references that everybody has now. And so like Trump is, the bad guy from all of them. But now we're like formalizing it. So CNN has their like actual news people now reporting on how we should be more like Wakanda, because that's where we are now.
Okay.
So that's, but I guess they get like diversity points for being like, what's the most advanced thing in the whole world that coincidentally, not because like Hollywood is leftist or anything.
Must know
that he's a whore.
No. Well, yeah, he is. But he must know that he's on the new management's kill list.
I mean, but like, you're going out here and you're seriously telling us, like, you know what? We could all be a little more like Wakanda. Like, Wakanda's pretend.
I also think Lizzo's beautiful.
It has, like, all the Democrat top progressive priorities for a city, and also is the most magical, wonderful, prosperous place on earth because it's made by Democrats who want all that stuff, and that's their fantasy world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because that actually works in real life, because we have cities that are run by Democrats in real life to look at, and they don't go so well. So, but I mean, like, they're like, wow, isn't it amazing how Wakanda has all my political priorities just coincidentally? And it's so amazing. Love Wakanda. Why can't we just all be more like Wakanda? This is like what passes, I guess, for political analysis now. And in the meantime, they're running the cities into the ground, and like a bunch of black people in Jackson, Mississippi don't have drinking water because Democrats are running the cities. Like, that's the reality of what's going on and what Democrat cities do for black people. And CNN is holding up Wakanda as like what we should be doing. Well, great. That's perfect. I mean, like, there's real cities in the world too, you know, guys. I can't take that. And I had one more thing I wanted to address, was that everybody online is talking about this. There's this like Washington Post graphic that's going around. And it's all about how like young people are having so much less sex now. Mm-hmm. And in particular, almost a third of men under age 30 have not had sex in the last year. So, I mean, and that's much higher than the women. And so it's interesting because...
How many... Now, let the record show.
Uh-huh.
There were some years in the 90s that Thomas Shattuck was in a bit of a dry run. There's no doubt about that. Wasn't for lack of trying, I can tell you that.
Yeah, but I think also part of what's happening, and I think some of these guys are trying, right? But I think part of what's happening is that we've discarded the regular model of, you know, one of the biggest ways that you get to have sex is by being in a monogamous relationship. Mm-hmm. Do you not think that you had more sex when you were in a relationship than not?
Frig, yes.
Yeah. So now in like Tinder world, right, where it seems like there should be more sex happening. What's actually happening, and in particular for men, is that because women are the holders of the getting to have sex cards, right? Realistically speaking. I know the left wants to pretend everybody's the same, but realistically speaking, it's the women who are letting the men have sex with them. So in general, what's happening now is that women are going on Tinder and they're hooking up with these guys that are sleeping with lots and lots of women who are like the most highly desirable guys. And those men get to sleep with all those women. Do you remember when there was that big story and all the TikTok drama because all these women on TikTok had been ghosted by like the same guy, yeah. Chad or whatever, whoever he was.
Yes.
And they were all mad at him because he'd ghosted all of them on Twitter. Well, they're all sleeping with the same like smaller population of guys.
The guys who probably didn't even need Tinder, but because they have game, but are now harnessing technology to get, you know, results that are 500 times.
Well, right. And they're already equipped.
Yes.
So they've already
got game.
So they're sleeping with all the girls. So the girls are having the same amount of sex because clearly if this graphic is like 28% of the men haven't had sex in the last year and 18% of the women haven't had sex in the last year.
Right.
So obviously the women are sleeping with somebody, but they're all sleeping with the same smaller population of guys. And now those guys are ghosting them and just sleeping with all the girls because that's what they do. And what's happening is there are a whole bunch of guys now who don't have any woman to have sex with them. And the stable relationship model is falling out of favor. And that model has a lot of advantages for both men and women in the longer term because those women that are all sleeping with the same guys for one-night stands and getting out there are going to find it much harder to find somebody who wants to settle down with them and have kids when they're 35 or 40 and decide they're ready to settle down and have kids, right? And I mean, and one of the people in here like points out that this is actually like in, what's her name? It's the Lean In book. Is that Sheryl Sandberg? Like where she says like, you know what, get out, have your fun, sleep with all the guys, but don't decide to marry the bad boys, then find a nice guy to settle down with. Well, the problem is the nice guys that you want to settle down with, you were supposed to settle down with them when you were like 25 and young and hot, so they get to have sex with you when you're young and hot, and then they stick around and help you raise the kids because this is like a mutually beneficial trade-off.
I know those guys.
We've arranged. But this is like a mutually beneficial trade-off that civilization has come up with.
Yes.
Where, like, everybody benefits from the transaction and we have kids and go on. And the problem with this model is that everybody ends up unhappy. But anyway, this woman, Alexandra Hunt, who's a she/her public health activist and 2022 Philadelphia congressional candidate, she tweeted today she has a different solution rather than maybe you should go back to trying to find somebody to settle down with in a long-term relationship, and women should stop getting ghosted a million times by the same guy.
Imagine that being a single guy, relatively good-looking, average or above average self-confidence,
Mm-hmm.
and you have it so good using Tinder that you never even have to repeat.
Right.
You're just breaking records. Oh my God.
So, but she has a different solution, which is that she feels that we've criminalized sex work too much,
Okay.
and that the young men who don't get to have sex are now suffering. And
I think that's probably true.
that is probably true. But she feels they're more likely to experience depression, nihilism, and other mental health issues. I think that's also probably true. But she feels that the solution is not to tell people to get back into monogamous relationships where they can have a deep and sincere emotional connection and lots of great sex. She feels that the solution is to be moving towards a right to sex. People should be able to have sex when they feel they want to, and we need to develop services that meet people's needs without attaching the baggage of shame or criminalization. So she feels that we need universal basic sex for the incels.
It's a good take.
That we should have prostitution, and I guess the state should pay for it to keep the young men mentally healthy.
I don't know if the cream of the crop is going to be showing up.
I mean, I think a lot of the young men probably aren't as particular.
I think
as people
essentially
would
now,
suggest.
talking to people that I know, even people my age, essentially you can get escorts now, and it's you're good to go. So
Yeah, but what if you're too poor to hire the escorts? Or what if the escorts don't want to hook up with... We need a right to
I think
sex.
traditionally, then you kill them. I think that's traditionally what it's happening. I don't.
Here's the thing: is I don't think there is like a right to have sex on demand at any time, and that we need to provide it to young men.
Well,
and I think that society has a solution for this, and it's called getting married. Or
Well, sure, but also, if you're doing your initial courting online, etc.,
Mhm.
women don't get a proper chance to kick the tires on the guy. Women don't get to observe. If you're doing enough stuff initially just online,
Mhm.
women are seeing one dimension and feeling it in the most positive way in their minds.
Right.
Women aren't seeing the guy, how he treats the server at Dunkin' Donuts. They're not seeing what he does when there's a flat tire in the car. They're not seeing his reaction to rain if he runs under an awning because it's drizzling. You know?
Mhm.
Different things that women might see and say, I will not be breeding with him. You know? They're not seeing, and a lot of times you're not seeing the good stuff. Because men are many men, certainly I was, are insecure. So they don't know, like my whole thing with you on Facebook when we first met was all lies. I thought I put out the best means tested information out there, most likely to optimize me search engine wise for your feminine web crawlers, and to sell a person better than me, because I thought the me can't be that good. So let me just throw something over here that's better, which you also did too. But then again, we did meet in person and
Have like a relationship.
right, exactly, and talk amongst people and things. I was too old to know how to do anything else. But okay, ready for the shot?
We can go to the chat.
All right, here we go.
Nothing?
Hi, Tom.
Ooh.
This is Stephen Hawking.
Oh my God!
I hope you are well.
What is that thing that he wrote again? Stephen Hawking. What's the big book he had?
I don't remember.
Oh, come on. It was like from 1989, Stephen Hawking book. My brother had it. My brother thought he was
Yeah.
deep for a while. Book.
Theory of everything?
was it?
Brief history of time?
Yeah, Brief History of Time. That was the big one. That's right. My brother may have been deep, to give him credit. Okay, here we go.
Just looking for an update on your new lamp. Got much to do down here in hell.
Wow!
Talk soon.
Update to my new what?
Lamp.
Oh, the lamp is fantastic, Steven.
Yeah, that's one of
Dr.
the things
Hawking.
our daughter did when her friend popped by was show her your lamp.
Oh, did they feed
went
the
up
meter?
Here. I don't know if they fed the meter, but
Was
they
that-
both came up here.
Was that
Heavy.
okay? That's great. That's great. Everybody loves this lamp. The lamp is
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. I'm sure. Sorry, Dr. Hawking. We should probably feature the lamp more. If I
So
had a coin,
true.
I'd throw some money in the
The
meter.
only problem is that it ticks
Yeah,
for
but
the rest of the
who
podcast.
cares? It's worth it. People would love that. It's probably
People would love a
comfortable for people.
podcast with ticking in the
Of course
background.
they
I
would.
think.
Of course.
I'm really not certain politically if she does have the ability to have that position after elected, because she's just not ready for it, in my view. Thanks for calling.
It says Dr. Cheswick. What am I missing?
I don't know. Is that a cocaine reference? Something?
Dr. Cheswick?
No,
Okay.
no. Dr. Cheswick is like one of our listeners. They comment on Rumble videos sometimes too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. So what is?
I'm really not certain politically if she does have the ability to have that position after elected, because she's just not ready for it, in my view. Thanks for
Who?
calling.
I think maybe me, and it's like a cocaine thing. I don't know.
Yeah, but said elected. Oh, somebody said you should run for something. Was that during
I
the
have no
show?
clue. I don't know.
Don't
I don't know.
Feel
I
free
don't
to
get it
search your
either.
database.
I thought about it. At least I put forward a theory. You don't have anything.
It's okay. Who's serving that we think's hot? Tulsi?
I don't know.
Christy Noam? I don't know.
I don't get it. Okay.
Dr. Cheswick, call back tomorrow and explain this. I don't get it.
100% convinced the Shaddocks live on an actual boat. What's the evidence? Well, it's raining in the galley.
True.
Alice tripped over all of the rigging that was left about. The kids go to nautical camp, and neither of them have been seen on land in approximately 3 years. Prove me wrong.
Well,
Can't.
my brother
Yeah.
Jimmy Shattuck lives on a boat, so
Yeah.
it's possible.
Anything's possible.
I'd live on a boat. It would be
A giant yacht
a bigger
with
thing.
a crew.
I don't want the crew. Boats are overrated, man. They just. I'm sorry about that. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but they are.
Am I the 12th caller for Bananarama? Are you there? I sure hope I won the tickets.
I'm your Venus. Your Delilah, your desire. Do you know that song?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't get it.
In America here, Alice, we emote a little bit and have warm feelings and convey messages to one another. Yes.
Sorry.
So do I have to switch it from like the way we do with our Somerset from cool to heat? I have to switch it from Scottish to Serbian?
I don't know.
Yes, I understand. It is the humor, you say. What was that about? I forgot.
Bananarama?
Oh, yeah. Wasn't a huge fan of Bananarama. I did like Cyndi Lauper at first. I decided to buy rock magazines and marry Tiffany, who I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think she dated somebody, New Kids in the Block, and I was devastated. Devastated. You know Tiffany?
No.
Think you're alone now. It doesn't seem
Oh,
to
okay.
be. Okay, still.
I do
okay.
know that song.
Jeez. Anybody around who wants to talk music? Jesus.
Good morning, Tom and Alice.
Morning.
Tommy NH here.
Hey, Tommy.
I've been looking into the case of Alice versus the IT department.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The IT department should issue monthly security patches to your computer on a specific date in normal circumstances. You should, as the user, be given the opportunity to decline those updates between 3 and 5 times due to inconvenience in non-emergency situations.
You're not offended that we're letting an IT guy talk to us right now,
No,
are you?
that's fine.
Are you sure?
I'm
Because I know you
surprised
talked down
he
to
took
them.
time out of his busy day of sending fake phishing attempts and resetting people's 20-character long
Are you
passwords.
really torching Tommy?
I'm torching IT people in general.
Imagine. You know, and you're the type of girl who, when the IT guy is fixing the computer on the boat, that you and the other yacht bunnies would remove your tops on the thing, and you knew that he could see you just to torture him.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. I have physical proof, and for you,
Not
if you
true.
keep denying, I'll disseminate it.
However, after all given options were declined, IT must automatically force the update to the computer.
Ooh.
The case comes down to this.
This is a rigid defense of the IT people.
Let's see what he says.
Alice, did you decline all offers of updates prior to the inconvenient forced update?
No, incorrect. I accepted the update when it was offered, knowing that I would have to restart my computer. And instead of installing the updates, the computer completely crashed and stopped working for 2 hours in the middle of my workday.
We challenged Tommy and I am his counsel.
I accepted the updates.
We
The updates
challenged
weren't
the
due until
contention.
Friday.
Objection.
Mhm.
This is conjecture because we challenged the suggestion that the computer crashed. It was simply
froze.
we challenge. Objection.
Mm-hmm.
Sustained.
Okay.
That means that
That you're allowed to continue your...
that's correct.
Okay.
That means that that was part of the updating process. You were impatient because you demand everything now because you think that you
Yeah.
work in certain departments where you get to go to expensive business working lunches, etc., and on outings to the Springfield Casino and the Encore Casino with the brass. You think that you're allowed to talk down to the IT people, like you're doing now to Tommy.
If yes, I have to rule against Alice in this case
Correct.
versus the IT department.
Correct.
The IT department was correct.
Correct.
If no, you were never given an opportunity to decline and do the update at another more convenient time, your IT department sucks.
In other words, this is on you, Alice
No,
Shack, and
like
I want
I've
a blanket.
explained-
I want a blanket.
like
a
I've
blanket
explained-
apology sent out. I'm judging this case. I want a blanket apology sent out to.
But neither of those options is what happened.
Incorrect.
What happened is I said yes to accept the update, knowing that I would have to restart, but not knowing that it would take 2 hours to make my computer work again and being on the phone with IT being told to unplug things and plug them back in.
Do you
and
notice
just
that?
wait
Do you
a
notice
while.
that
And then
bad
they go-
things happen to the divas in the office who think they're better than the IT people? Have you noticed that? I have no problem with my IT guy, and I work remotely, and we have VPN stuff and all that stuff, and things are fine. But you know what I do? I treat him as an equal with respect.
Mhm.
I don't treat him, a half step above the pool boy who's lucky to be around my goddess aura.
I know, and like a lot of IT people, but
Oh, yes, it
mostly
sounds
at
like it.
work, they
Sounds like it.
mostly make my life more difficult. I have to
Can you
say.
imagine that? You're
I have
making
to
my
say.
life difficult, slowing my computer. Do you realize the network security that they're doing constantly? All the updates that they have to do, the stuff that they have to do. All they ask from you is just accept the update.
I did accept the
Do
update.
it in a time. Okay, we do it at a time when there's less traffic on your
Is
machine.
there usually a time of day
it
when
ju-
it's convenient to take 2 hours off?
What?
In your work day, is there usually a time of day when it's convenient to not work for 2 whole
You could have done
hours?
this. They made. I've seen the wording of their email.
Mhm.
You could have done this after close of business. That is the truth. Guilty.
Hey, Allison, Tom, this is Dana from Maine.
Hey,
I was
Dana. Hi,
reflecting
Dana.
on the call from yesterday from Danny, and he was exactly right. He hit the nail on the head. I'm very confused. Are you ill-mannered and uncouth like you present yourself every day? Or are you a Massachusetts aristocrat? I can't really tell.
Wait, is that to me or you?
That's to you because he's talking about
Oh.
how your fancy language sometimes. Because sometimes you're
Oh,
a man
yes.
of the people and sometimes you're
in-
very pretentious.
I assume the ill-mannered and uncouth is what we call facetiousness. I assume. I'm not an aristocrat. I come from an old Yankee family who has been wealth adjacent. We've been the poor people in the rich neighborhood forever. So we managed to glom on here and there and get to use a pool or two, but we don't feel proud for doing it. We're mid-level social prostitutes, and unfortunately, that means that you've got donuts for tires. Which is
I've told you can go do that. We have enough money
thank
for
you.
you
know,
to
I was
replace
hoping
your
for some
tire.
condescension right then. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I can
anytime.
go do that?
Mhm.
Okay.
the other day you mentioned about ice fishing, and then you're a fan and you like the drinking. So yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that. Ice fishing,
Man of the people.
Ice fishing is fun to do.
Mm-hmm.
We should get the fellas together. I mean, I haven't done it since I was a teenager with my dad and my brother. But it's totally conducive to having fun, and you can catch some great, beautiful trout. And like I said, the lake that we went to, we could never catch lake trout except for when we went ice fishing.
But then you talk about going to the Poland Spring Resort, where they serve the finest champagne of waters, and they use the highest quality linens. I'm so confused. Please clarify.
I will. The Poland Spring
Resort. Do you drink your Poland Spring water with your pinky raised?
But of course. The Poland Spring Resort we found it on Priceline or something because my son was staying at a camp near there. I know he
had to go spy on the kid during camp, so he went to
there was some beautiful people aspects of that place. I certainly think it had its heyday some decades ago, but it was still kind of opulent. If you've not been there, it's very interesting. Right down the street is the Poland Springs corporate headquarters, which is elegant too. It's very odd that a corporate headquarters is elegant, but so no, I am not. Believe me. Yes, once again, wealth adjacent. The other people in the resort could afford to be in the resort. I wasn't. That was before my diet. I went to the 7-Eleven down the street, and because the room came with a microwave, just got microwave. I was pretty low. I got to tell you, pretty low. Pretty low.
Hey, Tom and Al. So I was just wondering how you're doing. Wait a minute. I think I heard something. The heck? Oh.
I believe that's a recreation, Alice, of really what most people consider the high point of yesterday's show.
I think a lot of people
there's no
consider
doubt.
it
She
the high
talked crime.
point.
I mean, I may have to take a little. I may have to take a little.
Remarkable.
A little responsibility for some of this stuff in particular because
that is remarkable.
I was leading her. Obviously, Rick. I didn't. She just called in, so I was leading her into areas where I wanted to.
Damn.
I think a lot of people consider that the high point of the Burn
sheer,
Barrel podcast all time.
Howitzer level concussion that was made in the room, and the report was just horrific. Horrific. How is your breast, by the way?
It still hurts.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
Well, you know what? You should ignore it.
That's what I plan on doing, all my medical ailments. So, anyway, thank you all for listening. We really appreciate it. Thank you, live streamers and Patreon supporters. That's at patreon.com/burnbarrel if you want to join in that. If not, you can always find the show for free at burnbarrelpodcast.com. There's a bunch of different places you can listen. We are allowed back on YouTube now. We're on Rumble, always. And anywhere else you like to listen to podcasts.
But there's no doubt. She talked crime. I mean, I may have to take a little. I may have to.